Hola, y'all. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. If you're not new here, welcome back, y'all. My name is Elle, and this is my perspective. And this is my onesie because we have a cold front warning, and it gets cold when a cold front warning comes through. I mean, if I don't run my AC for majority of the year, at least not this year, then yeah, I'm gonna be cold when the cold front comes through. Okay, so yeah, let's talk about this house hunting stuff that I'm doing. Before I get too deep into it, I do want to let you know there are plenty of options. Like, I'm not like, oh my goodness, there's no options. No, I'm finding plenty of options. Here's the issue though. I keep narrowing down and then expanding and then narrowing down. So the last time we had a chat, I was saying Main Street, grocery stores, Sam's Club, right? And then it was like, okay, well, Sam's Club delivers, so you can kind of back out from Sam's Club. But then it was like for them to deliver, it's 1,000 pesos you need to spend, and my lettuce, y'all, is 49 pesos. So that's not a wise thing. So now it's like, okay, you need to kind of let me adjust this camera. My bad, y'all. Let me kind of let go of Sam's Club. So I let go of Sam's Club, and then I was supposed to be going to sleep last night. And when I was getting ready to go to sleep, this thought popped into my head about Americore. And so it was like, do you remember Americore? Yeah, I remember Americore. And it was just like that kind of thing. I didn't know where we were going with the whole AmeriCorps thing, but then it was like, oh, okay, now I get it. So in AmeriCorps, for those of you who do not know, if you are in the United States, then you likely know what Peace Corps is. AmeriCorps is that same concept, except we do not leave to go to another country. We stay right there in the United States. And our tour is 1 year, and then you can do it, you just, it's a year, like nothing shorter, it's a year. And so when you work, when you do AmeriCorps, here's something that they tell you when you are in training. So you can be in this state, and then you can pick up an assignment that's in this state. But for training, went to a completely different state. And so when we're there, they're like, hey, yeah, so we're working in impoverished communities and everything. And they were trying to make sure that we understood the assignment, which we did. And it was everything. You could be any and everything under the sun, education, like illiteracy. I think finances may have been one. I can't remember. Mine was hunger, food. So we were up to date on like food deserts, obesity, children's health due to food and options for food and so forth and so on. So I did a lot of work in that area. Um, so at the end of the day, what you did is not only did you work in impoverished communities, but they wanted to make sure that you didn't live here and worked here. They wanted to make sure that you lived and worked here because they didn't want you wondering or assuming how they live. They wanted you to know firsthand. So just for you to know, this doesn't have anything to do with what I'm going to, but just for those of you who are curious, for a month of me working, my checks were always below $900. Okay. So I was not able to afford anything that I'm used to living in or anything because I still needed to pay, like even before Americore, like I still had a car and it still need to pay insurance, still need to do gas, all those things. I still needed food, and the places that I live, yeah, we're not going to be able to afford any of that. So ended up in a two-bedroom apartment, and there were three of us, okay? Three roommates in a two-bedroom apartment. If you had a room, you pay X amount of money. The one with the bathroom in her room paid the most. And then I had a room, so I paid the second most. And then there was one who was like, no, I'm sleeping on the floor. So that was that. But even with that right there, that was taking a big bulk of my check because even though it was less than 900 a month, you still got your two checks. And so, yeah, you had to, that whole first check was going to rent. Like there was no wiggle room. So yeah. Ooh. Okay. So as I'm going through, I'm like, okay, so I kind of get it. The reason Americore came up was because here in Merida, there are things that I want to do, right? There are things that I want to do aside from learn the language and learn the culture, right? Um, if you don't know, I like dabbling in herbs, right? Let me not say it like that. I enjoy alternative medicine, okay? And everything that alternative medicine and healing does. That's right up my alley, right? And so while I do know some herbs that grow and are local here to Mexico, and I use them even when I was in the United States, I want to get beyond my book knowledge and the stuff that I've done on myself and work with someone who is here. Okay. So that's one of the things, but all of my things are like that hippie alternative type thing. Now, the reason Americore came into play is because when I was working in said communities, you hear how said people feel and think about everyone who is what they may consider in classes above them. And sometimes you see how those people in these classes feel about them, right? Merida, Mexico, in the north, is known for being a place where most expats and foreigners live. A foreigner would be someone who is Mexican, but may not be here. They're foreign. They are not local here, if that makes sense. So in your head, imagine. Okay. And I'm not going to say that I'm taking on the thoughts of a local, right? But I am in some groups where I do hear what locals are typing or see what they're typing and so forth and so on. But imagine in your head that you live where you live, right? And where you live, let's say that you live where the locals live, but then you have all these people coming, and let's just call them tourists. And when the tourists come in, what do you think a tourist wants? They want to get what they want, maybe say that they've had a little touch of the tropicalness, or they've done the tourist thingies, they've eaten here, and the places not necessarily street food, but maybe like some famous street food places, and then they get out and they may go back to their resort or they may go back to their country and say that they did what they did. So if somebody's like, yeah, so did you do what the locals did? Yeah, I did what a couple of the locals did. And it was just like, it's like, oh, a trendy thing, right? I don't want to do the trendy thing, right? I want to live where the locals live. And right now, living in the North, I'm not doing that. I'm being one of the people who are like falling into the category of a tourist, even though I'm not doing the touristy things, right? Like I did not touch ground and have this whole list of touristy things to do because that's not me. I don't do that anywhere that I've lived, whether it's San Antonio, Dallas, Houston, anywhere. Like that's not me to do that. Um, it's just not. So I feel like the people that I need to interact with are like, that's not my vibe, girl. You up north, that's not my vibe. I'm like, I feel you because it's not my vibe either. Like I'm not out here in these streets. I'm in my house. And that's the other thing. I need to get out of my house. I need to get out of my comfort zone because even to be in your comfort zone can also come off a certain kind of way, right? You ain't in the United States, right? You hear and here family community socializing it's a thing, and for me to be antisocial, which is who I am in the United States, that's just who I am. I'm not going to eat your food. I'm not going to I'm not going to do it. I don't want to come to your house. I'm none of that, but I need to get out of that, right? I hope this makes sense. The other thing that I really that kicked in was just like, oh my goodness, like it's another thing that is something that I need to consider heavily for this next move is people don't move every time somebody sneezes. Like, find somewhere and sit down. That is so hard for me to do, to digest, to just any place that I have been in the United States for more than a year, it wasn't planned. It was not planned. Like one of those places, like I really wanted to leave as soon as I got there, but my daughter wanted to stay. So I stayed for the sake of my daughter until my daughter was like, it's time to go. So then I was like, ooh, girl, more than happy to do so. But it's just it's not my thing. So now I need to see about making it my thing. Now that's not the problem. Here's the problem. The places that fit where I'm like, okay, I feel like I can run into and bump into. I feel like I can make some things happen in these spaces and places. Y'all, I have zoomed in on the maps, and when I zoom in on the maps, I don't see grocery stores. And I'm having a bit of a conniption fit. Like, no grocery stores, no Super IK, no Soriana, no, definitely no Walmart. And we can just forget about Sam's. And so I'm like, what y'all doing? I don't even know how do no malls with grocery stores in them? Nothing. So I'm like, okay, that right there is going to get me out of my little bubble thingy. I don't know how, but I feel like I'm gonna have to bump into an area like, excuse me, where you get your food from? Excuse me, when the waterman come through? Like all that. I'm gonna have to be learning some Spanish. I'm sorry. I'm learning Spanish. My Spanish is gonna be very demasiado. I have to do that lentamo, lentamo. Oh, that sounds French. Lento. A lento bean. A lento. Lento sounds Spanish, right? Lento. Yeah, slow. I speak slowly. Yeah. So that's what it is. In my comment section, once upon a time, somebody had put a comment and they said that they chat with the locals. That's not what I wanted to say. They chat with the Mayans. I got some questions for you. I got a whole lot of questions for you because I'm trying to find a space place to live and all that stuff. Is this now? I'm not saying I want to live where the Mayans live. I am not saying that at all. I'm this is what had happened. Spanish, I thought was just like, oh my goodness, like I'm Spanishing, and I feel like it's like I'm going all in circles and everything. And so I was like, let me pull up some Mayan. This is when I first got here. Let me pull up some Mayan. I pulled up some Mayan. I was like, oh hell no. I went right back to Spanish. I am happily trying to work on this Spanish because that Mayan, oh my goodness, I couldn't make no heads or tails from it. So yeah, to speak to some Mayans, like what is that? Like I have a whole lot of questions. I just want to pick your brain. Okay. I really wanted to say that. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, y'all leave it in the comment section. If y'all have, like, how do y'all even stay in one place for more than 1 year? Like you move there knowing you're gonna stay there for more than 1 year. How is that a thing? Like who that is a real question because I don't do that. I don't do that. For the people who have stayed in their same city state and they've never left their city state, like, oh my goodness, like I I would run from that. I don't even know how that works. Seriously. I don't know how that works. I've moved 18 times for a reason. Like I don't know how that works. I don't the concept of sitting still on purpose, I think. Like I feel like I need to not have it in stone so that if I feel like I've outgrown a space place, then I can move on. But to find a place and be like, oh, this is possibly gonna be my space that I'm gonna be in for the next 3, 4 years. Like what the so the only thing that I can think of is I really want it to be new, closer to new, closest to new. And then it's gonna knock it out of a space place where the locals are, right? Like it's so but I also need to be comfortable. So we'll see. We'll see. I'll come back and I'm like, look, y'all, this is where I'm in. Y'all gonna be like, where is that? Is that even on the map? I found it. Okay, I'll chat with y'all later. I'm just I gotta figure this out. And I also feel like that place is probably not even gonna be on the internet. Like I'm gonna have to be walking in the neighborhood. I ain't about to do that. It's cold outside. All right, I'll chat with y'all later. Bye, y'all.